Anthony Rumble Johnson, born March 6, 1984, and left this world November 13, 2022, was an American mixed martial artist. He spent most of his career competing for the UFC, where he was a multiple-time title challenger, before ending his career in a single fight with Bellator MMA. Rumble fought in the welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight divisions. He was known by his nickname, Rumble, which was given because of his one-punch knockout power. He also had a small acting role as a fighter in a large international mixed martial art tournament called Sparta in the 2011 film Warrior. Rumble was the #1 ranked light heavyweight contender in official UFC rankings, and was ranked #2 in the world by Sherdog and ESPN before his retirement in April 2017. Later, Johnson came out of retirement in May of 2021 and won his last fight by knockout.
Once again, do it. Good luck.
Chip rematch. Anthony Rumble Johnson and the champion. Cormier thinks Johnson will be more patient tonight. Southpaw.
He's attacking that front.
As Carrick gets taken down, he knows he can stand back up. He's wearing Rumcout's back. And Cormier has gotten past that magic 7-minute.
Goodness.
Look about where it's at.
But he can switch to mount still and be in a good position. And see, this is wrestling 101. Wrist control, tight waist, grind him out. Best to roll to his back and try to reset the position.
Anthony Johnson was born in Dublin, Georgia. He was raised by his grandparents, who formally adopted him at the age of 2. Early in life, his heroes were his grandfather and the football player Walter Payton. He went to West Lawrence High School and attended Lassen's College in Susanville, California, on a wrestling scholarship, and became a junior college national wrestling champion. After college, he worked as a bouncer and entered mixed martial arts at the age of 20, after a friend suggested it due to his wrestling background. Johnson made his UFC debut at UFC Fight Night 10, knocking out Chad Renner just 13 seconds into the first round. He had taken the fight on less than a week's notice, replacing an injured Steve Bruno, who had a torn rotator cuff. He was also seen in a previous video for The Ultimate Fighter trying out for Season 6. However, for undisclosed reasons, he was not on the show. In his next bout, he faced Richard Clemente at UFC 76. He lost the fight via rear naked choke submission in the second round. After his first professional loss, Johnson then faced Tommy Spear at UFC Fight Night. Rumble won the fight via knockout in the first round. Johnson's next fight was against Kevin Burns at the UFC Fight Night on the undercard Silva vs. Irvin, which aired live on Spike TV on July 19, 2008. Johnson was repeatedly poked in the eye throughout the bout, with Burns receiving multiple warnings. In the third round, Johnson would again be poked in the eye, resulting in a cracked retina that rendered him unable to continue. However, referee Steve Magazzati controversially declared Burns the winner via technical knockout. Johnson appealed the loss, but it was denied due to a lack of remedy. Johnson fought Kevin Burns again in a rematch at the Ultimate Fighter 8 finale. Johnson won the match by knocking Burns out via head kick. The knockout was awarded Knockout of the Night and a $25,000 bonus. Later that year, Johnson was scheduled to fight Matt Brown at the TUF 9 finale, but had to pull out after suffering a knee injury. Johnson instead fought Japanese fighter Judoka Yoshida at UFC 104. Johnson weighed in at 176 pounds, 5 pounds over the welterweight 9 title bout limit of 171, and was forced to forfeit 20% of his fight purse. Rumble knocked out Yoshida 41 seconds into the first round, but was not eligible for the knockout of the night bonus due to missing weight. Since he had taken very little damage during the Yoshida fight, Johnson made a quick turnaround and faced Josh Koscheck on November 21, 2009 at UFC 106. Both Johnson and Koscheck were awarded Fight of the Night honors for the contest, which saw Koscheck win via rear naked choke. Johnson was expected to face John Howard on March 21, 2010 at UFC Live Vera vs. Jones, but had to pull out due to suffering a knee injury in training. Because of the knee injury, Johnson considered a move to the middleweight division of the UFC. Johnson indicated on the June 4, 2007 episode of Inside the MMA that he must typically lose 55 pounds to make 170. Despite this, Johnson said that although he may take a fight at 185, he does not plan to remain there and intends to stay at 170. Johnson returned to the octagon in early 2011. He faced Dan Hardy on March 26, 2010 at UFC Fight Night 24. Johnson used superior wrestling and controlled Hardy to a unanimous decision victory, dropping him with a left head kick in the first round. Johnson was expected to face Nate McCourt, and that would have been his first main event on June 26, 2011 at UFC on Versus 4, but was forced out of the bout with an injury and replaced by Rick Story. Johnson went on to face Charlie Brenneman at UFC on Versus 6. He won the fight via first round KO, earning Knockout of the Night honors once again. For his next fight, Johnson attempted to move to middleweight to face Victor Belfort on January 14, 2012 at UFC 142. Leading up to the UFC 142 weigh-ins, doctor advised Johnson to terminate his weight cut and rehydrate. Johnson came in at 197, 11 pounds over the middleweight division weight limits. The fight would remain scheduled under the stipulation that Johnson would not weigh over 205 pounds on fight day and would forfeit 20% of his purse to Belfort. On fight day, Johnson officially weighed in at 204.2 pounds, and Belfort won the fight via first-round submission. Following the loss, Johnson was released from the promotion for disciplinary reasons due to missing weight yet again. After parting ways with the UFC, Rumble continued to show why they called him Rumble. From 2012 to 2014, Rumble continued to give people the business, picking up wins in the Titan Fighting Club Championship, independent promotion, and knocking people out in the World Series of Fighting, before returning to the UFC. On February 4, 2014, it was announced that Johnson signed a 4-fight deal to return to the UFC. In his return bout, instead of cutting weight and fighting at the 170-pound welterweight division, Johnson fought at 205 in the lightweight heavyweight division. There he faced top-ranked light heavyweight Phil Davis in a co-main event at UFC 172. Despite being a nearly 3-1 underdog, Johnson was successful in his return, defeating Davis via unanimous decision after dominating all 3 rounds of the fight. Johnson next faced Antonio Nogueira in the co-main event on July 26, 2014 at UFC on Fox 12. He won the fight via KO at just 44 seconds into the first round. The win also earned Johnson his first Performance of the Night bonus award. On September 19, 2014, news surfaced about Johnson being suspected of domestic violence against the mother of his 2 children. Soon after, Johnson claimed to be innocent. Due to the suspicion, UFC released a statement that Johnson was being indefinitely suspended until the case was investigated. On November 6, 2014, the UFC lifted Johnson's suspension after the civil case was dismissed, clearing him to fight. Johnson fought Alexander Gustafsson on January 24, 2015 at UFC on Fox 14, with the promise that the winner would earn a title shot against Jon Jones. Johnson won the one-sided bout via TKO in the first round, becoming the first to stop Gustafsson due to strikes. The win also earned Johnson his second Performance of the Night award. Johnson was expected to face Jon Jones on May 23, 2015 at UFC 187. However, on April 28, it was announced that Jon Jones had been stripped of the UFC light heavyweight title and suspended indefinitely. Rumble Johnson would face Daniel Cormier for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship. Early in the first round, Johnson became the first man to knock down Cormier, but would succumb to Cormier's wrestling, becoming fatigued and losing the fight via a rear naked choke submission in the third round. After dominating Jan Blachowicz at UFC 191 on September 5, 2015, Johnson would next face Ryan Bader on January 30, 2016 at UFC on Fox 18. Bader went for a takedown almost immediately, which Johnson defended. Bader then threatened a Kimura off his back, but Johnson defended it before moving into full mount and winning via a knockout. The win also earned Johnson his 4th Performance of the Night bonus award. On July 23, 2016, at UFC on Fox 20, Johnson defeated Glover Teixeira by knockout 13 seconds into the first round and was awarded his 5th Performance of the Night bonus. A rematch with champion Daniel Cormier was expected to take place on December 10, 2016 at UFC 206. However, Cormier pulled out of the fight on November 25th, citing an injury, and as a result, Johnson was removed from the card. The pairing was rescheduled again and eventually took place on April 8, 2017 at UFC 210. Johnson decided to use his wrestling as his main offense, a decision which frustrated his corner and led to him becoming fatigued and losing the fight via a rear naked choke submission in the second round. After the fight, Johnson announced his retirement from the UFC and combat sports, effective immediately. In August 2019, 2 years after initially announcing his retirement, Rumble confirmed that he would be returning to the USDA testing pool. Despite initial claims about moving up to heavyweight, Johnson eventually decided to stay in the light heavyweight division. In October 2019, Rumble confirmed he was in talks with the UFC brass to come back as part of the heavyweight division and would like to return in April 2020. However, he eventually entered the testing pool in late August 2020 and would have been eligible to compete in February 2021. On December 9, 2020, it was announced that Johnson had parted ways with the UFC and had signed a multi-fight contract with Bellator MMA. But on September 18, 2021, it was announced that Anthony Rumble Johnson was forced to pull out of the bout and the tournament due to an unspecified illness. Johnson was hopeful to return to action in 2022. Now let's take a deeper dive into the death of Anthony Rumble Johnson. This article is from BloodyElbow.com. The MMA community was left in mourning on Sunday after the death of former UFC title challenger Anthony Rumble Johnson came to light. Many of his contemporaries, whether it was former rivals or teammates, shared their well wishes for the late Rumble. What wasn't immediately revealed was the cause of death. All anyone knew was that the 30-year-old had been dealing with serious medical conditions in 2021. Recently, his manager Ali asked for prayers because Johnson was, quote, not doing well, end quote. But as Yahoo Sports revealed in a recent report, Johnson died due to organ failure from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a rare immune disorder. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is usually a treatable form of cancer, with a survival rate of 73%. It is one of the more common kinds of cancer at 4%, although its incidence and mortality rates are strongly related to age and more frequently seen on people over the ages of 65. Former training partner and ex-champion Kamaru Usman also spoke with Yahoo and revealed that Johnson was undergoing dialysis during one of their last encounters a few months back. Quote, you know, it was a little like the late actor Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick kept his issues private and we were all shocked and surprised when he died in 2020. Rumble would give you these runaround stories, and he was having dialysis on his kidneys, but he never really told you what was fully going on, end quote. Quote, he didn't want to be treated differently. He didn't want people to see him losing all this weight and going through these situations and treating him differently because of what was going on. He was such an incredible athlete, end quote. Rumble, young man Rumble, rest in peace. Thanks for watching. I've been Sean Mack. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit up that comment section as well. Show some love to Rumble. Once again, thanks for watching. Death After Sports, Anthony Rumble Johnson.